Hey, what's up, guys? Beast here, and this is actually not going to be a live commentary. I'm not going to be playing any matches. This is, as you can tell by the title of this video, it's a quick class setup, kind of like, well, it's not really a guide, but it's kind of like the classes that I use, throughout all the custom classes that I have. A lot of people are asking, maybe can you do a class setup video? What kind of weapons do you use, and, what attachments and perks do you use with them? So I decided to actually make a video with Modern Warfare 3, and I'll probably do this with a few other Call of Duties, like the more popular ones that you guys like to play and stuff like that. And we'll see where the series goes. It's kind of, I guess, maybe a series. It'll be like a little mini series. It's kind of like, my loadouts and stuff. But let's go ahead and get on into it. So a lot of my classes are always being changed. Mainly the Rambo class. Usually I'll swap that with an LMG and I'll put an LMG on there. It just depends. But right now at the moment I was just messing around with the M16 A4, and this gun's actually a beast because they did patch it and they recently made it stack upable against the Type 95. It's actually pretty competitive against the weapon now, because if you guys remember in the launch of this game, the Type 95 was ridiculously overpowered, and I think they did nerf it, but they buffed the M16 to kind of, like I said, make it compete with the Type 95, which would make more sense because technically the M16 is it seemed like through history it's been generally better than another weapon that was a burst fire, except for Modern Warfare 2 with the FAMAS. That's a whole nother story in itself, though. But one of the best attachments using the M16 is rapid fire. They already buffed its rate of fire, like I said, but might as well get it even faster burst in between and all that, and make sure your 3 shots will land on target as fast as possible and put a red dot on it. The main reason I usually don't use any proficiencies like kick is mainly because I got a specialist. I get specialist bonuses and stuff like that. And, well, honestly, specialist bonus, is one of my favorite things about this game. Because specialist, a lot of people say it was overpowered. I really don't care. It's what made this game fun. It may be a little bit unbalanced, I'm not going to lie, but I think that's mainly if people are camping and spawn trapping. But, that's pretty easy to do regardless if you have specialist or not. But, I'll equip some... this is more like a Call of Duty 4 kind of like class too. Usually when I go back to a weapon from Call of Duty 4 and stuff like that, I try and keep the general perks, equipment, and stuff like that from COD 4. But I like using the Deagles because they're probably the worst weapon in this game to use besides the 1887. I still say the 1887 is a little bit more reliable than the Deagles, but they nerfed the Deagles pretty bad, as you guys know. If you go back and try and use them, I mean, they're great weapons, but it's like why would you use that when you have machine pistols? I don't know why they even put pistols as secondaries if they decide to give a machine pistol that has a 32 round clip, and then with extended mags it's like 46 or something. I don't know. I guess they weren't really thinking too well, but it is what it is. So you got your Simtex here. I usually use Simtex. You guys know I don't really like the C4 in this game. It's a little bit glitchy. Claymores, they're pretty useless with Stalker. Same thing with the Bettys. And throwing knife I don't really use unless I'm trying to get my quick scope ladder stalls. I'm obviously just kidding. I don't really use throwing knives unless I'm using my knife only classes. And frag grenades are somewhat useful in this game if you're trying to like bounce a grenade off a wall into a building or something. I like to go with concussion grenades because flashbangs take too long to prime and all that unless you have quick draw. So I guess that's an okay option, but I'd prefer to use concussion grenades because it's good to throw them whenever you're playing objective game modes and stun people in the objective so you can get a few easy kills hopefully. The EMP grenades are somewhat useful in this game, but they're kind of useless compared to Black Ops 2's. The Scrambler I don't really use, but it's good if you're trying to get into buildings and stuff because it jams their equipment, so I think it disables their claymores, and it did similar to what it did in Black Ops 1. The smoke grenades I don't really use, same thing with the trophy system, don't really use it because, they can be used for, things like Predator missiles, AC-130 bullets, and Reaper shells, and all that crap. I just don't really find a use in it really that much. I mean, unless I'm going to just troll people and stuff and tack and search. Guys, how I feel about that. I don't like tack and search. I think they're kind of cheap unless you're using objective game modes. And even then, I've never really liked them because I think they do screw up the spawns a lot. Ironically, a lot of the developers are saying the main reason they don't put unlimited sprint perks in the game anymore is because it messes with the spawns. But as you can tell, their spawns are already bad, so it doesn't really matter, it seems like. And it doesn't seem like tack and search would make a difference with the spawns, apparently, to their logic, which is kind of weird because that's, people can just spawn trap people really easily with tack and search. I don't use the radar either because I think it's pretty cheap. Plus, everyone pretty much uses assassin in this game, so good luck with that one. But, I start off with quick draw because you need to get your gun up as fast as you can, of all that. That's good with the M16 because it's a burst fire, so it's slower than assault rifles that are automatic and all that crap. I usually like marathon or extreme conditioning. I forgot they call that in this game. I wish it was unlimited sprint in this game. This game would have been a lot better if you had unlimited sprint with how fun the shotguns are to use. And Stalker's good for slower assault rifles and, LMG and stuff of that sort. So we'll move on to my MP5 SD, my suppressed MP5, my good old Call of Duty 4 class setup. Nothing much of this setup. It's mainly just to challenge yourself if you want to, because I got a pistol here instead of a machine pistol, suppressed USB 45 to be exact. This is just one of the general class setups that I used back in COD 4 whenever it was in its prime. Similar stuff. I obviously know that Assassin wasn't in there. I traded that with stopping power, but you guys know how it is. They don't have stopping power in Modern Warfare 3. I had I think it was called Bandolier in COD 4, and that's basically the same thing as Bandolier, except it's like Bandolier on steroids. And then Dead Silence. I liked to not hear my footsteps. I don't really hear, like mine when people hear me. I just don't hear my own because it does distract me, as funny as that may sound. But yeah, the frag grenades was the only lethal equipment that you could have in Call of Duty 4 besides C4, which replaced your perks. So that's why I have a frag there. And that's that with that class setup. Now we're getting into the shotguns. This is probably still one of my favorite shotguns to use in Modern Warfare 3. I think I'm about to have 20,000 kills with it now, which is quite a bit. And I've got the legitimate 1,000 headshot title. I actually went for that intentionally in face-off for a long period of time until I got the title, and it was a lot of fun to do so. It made for some challenging matches because trying to always get for headshots and trying to force headshots is really difficult with shotguns in this game. You guys know how the pellets just fly everywhere. They're just random. Obviously, the best attachment and the best proficiency is damage if you're going to use Specialist. If you're not going to use Specialist, range is probably a better choice just because it's a little bit more reliable, but damage is generally, my choice whenever I'm going to choose a proficiency with shotguns, especially pump actions. And then extended mags, because why would you put a scope on a SPOS 12? And if you want to challenge yourself, yeah, you can go ahead and put a suppressor on it. I mean, a grip's okay, but like I said, extended mags is the best option in my opinion. So I just go with that. And I just keep gold on just to show people I have gold. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I just swap the camos all the time. Like sometimes I'll go from gold to red to blue and digital camo, all that. They have some pretty nice camos in this game, so I like to mix it up a little bit. But that's generally it. I start off with Assassin just because everyone uses radars. Even though everyone uses Assassin, it's kind of a weird situation. I don't know why people do what they do, but I do that. I either swap with Steady Aim, Dead Silence. I swap between these three. I know a lot of people hate Syrup Pro, and I do too, but it's kind of like the can't beat them, join them thing. If I know I'm versing people with Syrup Pro, I'll slap that on like that. But for the most part, I generally use Steady Aim because it makes the SPOS 12 a lot more reliable when hip firing. And then you can never go wrong with longer sprint times, especially when you're using a shotgun. And these games have a lot of long lines of sight, especially Modern Warfare 3's maps. So I start that off, and then you guys can see what I start off with Specialist. I start with Dead Silence to, like I said, not hear my footsteps, sleight of hand, quick draw. Self-explanatory. I know what you're thinking, why would you be ADSing with a shotgun? It's not really used for that. It's more like the other one where it says recover from equipment and grenade usage. The faster you are throwing equipment and everything, the more effective you are as a rusher. So that'll help out a lot. As you can tell, I named this class for a very specific reason. If I'm using, this gun, it's usually because I'm versing campers. Now, one guy actually messaged me the other day. He said, how do you have a class set up to beat the campers and stuff? Like, how do you deal with them? This gun right here, that's all I have to say. This gun right here, or the ACR, it handles campers pretty well if you know exactly what to do with it. Obviously, you can mix any attachments with the MP7 and it's still overpowered. But I like suppressor rapid fire because, like I said, might as well just get double attachments on your weapon because it's good either way, and it doesn't really need kick because it already has no recoil pretty much. MP9 obviously because it's the best machine pistol in my opinion. It's the most reliable. It has the longest or the largest clip size rather. And I just basically went for all stealth class because I have 2 suppressors on each. Semtex because I just like I said, every other equipment it doesn't really appeal to me. Same thing with concussions. That's one of the only non-lethal equipment that I prefer. You got your sleight of hand. The faster you are as a rusher, the more effective you are at killing all the campers. Plus, you're going to expect them in groups and stuff, so you have to reload fast. Assassin, because like I said, they love their portable radars and thermal scopes, and you have to basically do everything in your power to avoid them, and that helps hurt them as much as possible. Syrup Pro, because like I said, I don't like Syrup Pro, but if I'm versing people that are playing like jerk faces, I'm going to use it. That's just how it is. So the first thing I'll start off with is get Dead Silence, because like I said, if you are versing campers, chances are they probably have Syrup Pro and they're just going to sit in a corner and try and sound whore you, and Dead Silence doesn't really help counter that, but it does help, nullify your own footsteps like I just said a few minutes ago, and it helps you concentrate on that, and it just makes it an overall better experience for yourself to fight against the campers. But then you got Scavenger, because the chances are you probably almost ran out of ammo by your 4th kill, so then you go back to quick draw, so you can ADS faster and do all that. And then obviously when you get specialist bonus, you get all the perks. Luckily for me, I just wanted to point this out in the next class. This is another class that I trade off a lot. Like, I'll change the strike packages out a lot. I'll go from specialist to assault. I never really use support unless I am absolutely getting annihilated, which is usually really rare circumstances unless I'm playing a very big team-based game like Ground War, Domination, stuff like that of objective-based game. As you guys know, those randoms on your team that don't really do anything or play the objective, yeah, those matches are brutal. So sometimes I'll throw support on if I'm getting annihilated and I have to take down kill streaks. You guys will see that. That's the no-fly zone class. We'll get to that in a moment. The SCAR is one of my favorite assault rifles. It's definitely close to the M4 and the ACR. And I know the ACR is overpowered, but it's still one of my favorite assault rifles. Like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. But it's good. You know, it's a good overall gun. I know what you're thinking, why didn't you put 2 attachments on? Because really, this gun doesn't really need it. All you really need to put on this thing is either extended mag or a suppressor. And I know I could put 2, but I decided to start off with kick because this is generally another class that I fall back to and I'm just getting destroyed or whatever. Same thing. Secondary, it's going to be an MP9 suppressed. It's like that way if I want to go a stealthy route, I basically have another primary because the MP9 is essentially a primary. It's so good. Equipment, all that, self-explanatory. Main perk, self-explanatory. Scavenger. The good thing about the SCAR, the reason I chose to not use sleight of hand is because the SCAR is a really fast reload time and it has a good reload cancel. You can probably reload it in less than 2 seconds if you do the reload cancel right. If I remember correctly, I don't really remember the stats for this weapon. It's been a while. But of course, Assassin to keep you off the radar and get your streaks. And then Stalker because it makes the assault rifles much more like an SMG and much more mobile. This thing's basically like a cloned MP7 except it has like what seems like a little bit more range. I think it has a little bit of a slower rate of fire. And it's not as good up close. It doesn't have as good of hip fire obviously because it is an assault rifle. But like I said, I use my assault streaks. My favorites are the Pred. I actually like the precision airstrike if you're playing stuff like Domination, but it depends on the map. Everything's basically map dependent in this game. It's also lobby dependent. It depends on who you're versing. First, a lot of guys that like to shoot your stuff down. What you do is take these 2 off because they'll shoot that down pretty fast. And you'll just put a precision airstrike on, and then you'll also put on something like maybe an assault drone or something like that, or even a Juggernaut if you're really feeling risky and trying to go for that. I wouldn't suggest the Juggernaut though. It's not the best. But we'll continue. So H&K's finest. This gun is actually manufactured by Heckler & Co. I'm pretty dang sure it's a German company, UMP45. They also make the MP5, but this is one of my favorite guns from Heckler & Co. Just a little bit of knowledge thrown in there. It's good to learn something every once in a while. But yeah, the UMP, man, it's a beast. I throw kick and rapid fire on it. It still doesn't have that much recoil. It's pretty manageable. You guys have seen me control the recoil pretty well, I think. I'm pretty good at controlling the recoil anyways. I can hit people pretty much across the map with the thing if you, burst fire it and stuff like that. You just got to know how to use the weapon. It's all about experience with your weapon too. You got to know your gun. You can do pretty well with it. Lethal and tactical, pretty explanatory. Same thing with the secondary. This is another class I fall back to if I want to rush around and be a little bit more mobile than the SCAR. And I'm just getting annihilated again. Or this is just a really offensive class. Like it's really offensive. Like not offensive, offensive. They're pretty much spelled the same, so it's hard to pronounce them differently, but you guys know what I mean. It's a very good rushing class, all-around rushing. Like I said, go with Scavenger. Start that off with Assassin, all that dead silence. I can swap that out. It depends if I'm, really versing jerks or whatever. I'll put Syrup on. Like I said, it's all dependent on the lobbies. Then you start out with quick draw and all that because an SMG, it already has a fast aim down sight time, but you might even want to make that faster and cut it in half and get your, sights up and drop people really fast. It's really nice. Steady aim. I don't really hip fire much with the UMP, but it's great because the Pro version is ready faster after you sprint. So that's good. You can get your weapon up if someone surprises you. And then last but not least, you got sleight of hand because as you guys know, if you're a rusher, sleight of hand, getting that next mag in to drop some more people is very, very important. So I named this class 100% balanced because it's not. It's completely polar opposite of the name, but that's why I thought it'd be a little bit funny. ACR, the extended mag suppressor. You've probably seen this class on a certain YouTuber's video that gave tips and tricks to help boost your KD. It's probably very similar. In fact, he might have changed it with a red dot. I don't know. The irons are pretty good in this gun, though, so I don't have to worry about putting a red dot on. I really don't use optics on any of my weapons. I've just gotten used to the iron sights that way. I don't have to waste an attachment on an optic, and I can just use extended mags and suppressor and do all that good stuff. OP secondary because it fits the class. Syntax because, well, it's self-explanatory. I love using them, and they're very effective, much better than grenades in my opinion. Starting off with Scavenger, Assassin, you can kind of see a relating pattern with the assault rifles and submachine guns. They're generally the same perks and stuff, but with this class, I decided to unlock all the OP stuff first. So the first perk I unlock is Sitrep Pro. Stalker with Sitrep Pro is pretty beast. It's overpowered, obviously. with this, the way this gun works and the way this game plays. Then you got dead silence, and then quick draw, and then once you get specialist punch with the ACR, the extended mags, it's pretty much over for the other team, especially if you know what you're doing. Again, this is just another class that I like to challenge myself with when I know that I'm probably going to win the match, not being cocky or anything, but sometimes I just like to challenge myself. It's fun to do that anyways, regardless. The 1887 is the most inconsistent weapon in probably Call of Duty history, besides the W1200 from COD 4. This thing will get hit markers from 5 feet away, but it'll get one-hit kills if you have steady aim on from a good 20 to 25 meters away. It's really weird. This weapon has no attachments, and the only things you can choose is the proficiencies. I go with damage because, like I said, I use specialist bonus, and when I get the specialist bonus, you get range and every proficiency but the damage. So that way you have damage and range, and this thing becomes a monster once you do get specialist. You can swap the secondary out for whatever you feel like, but I like to use RPGs on my shotgun classes just for, well, you guys know it's fun. And like I said, same thing. Equipment, pretty self-explanatory. Got to go with extreme conditioning because you got to get over those obstacles faster and all that. Got to go with assassin because if you're rushing around, the chances are they're not, and they're using radars and stuff. So you got to stay off that radar. And then steady aim's pretty important on the Model 1887 because the crosshairs are probably the biggest hipfire-wise. So it's pretty much mandatory to put steady aim on. And then you unlock dead silence first, and then sleight of hand, and then quick draw. And the rest goes from there. It's pretty rinse and repeat cycle. The P90X Challenge. This is another class that I like to choose. It's usually a swapped out class. It used to originally be a sniper here just for whenever I mess around. Like I said, there's only like 3 or 4 classes that I always change, but there's a few that I just completely never mess with unless I just want to put a different attachment on it. But this weapon, it's a P90 with extended mags and rapid fire. Sometimes I'll change the extended mags out for suppressor and rapid fire because they nerfed the P90 in this game where they gave its rate of fire a lot lower than it used to be in its predecessors, the previous Call of Duty games. Modern Warfare 2 and COD 4, P90 was a lot faster as far as rate of fire is concerned, so they had to change that up. I don't know why they did, but they did. So like I said, when you put rapid fire on, you get that good old P90 feeling back from like COD 4 and MW2 days. The secondary equipment and all that is explanatory as usual, but this time I decided to go with quick draw because, this is if you're not versing too many people that are camping. This is just a very good rushing class as well. It gets your sight up and all that. Then, people that don't have sit rep can't really hear you that well. And then you got sleight of hand. It's a very offensive class to start out with. Offensive, whatever. You guys know what I mean. Very good to rush with. It's very good to cap objectives whether you're playing domination because you get 75 rounds and you can do a lot of damage. You got a lot of damage output to do with that. So last but not least, this is the only class I ever actually have support on for the most part. This is if the enemy just doesn't know how to stop calling in air support and my team's just getting completely wrecked. Pretty much just an MP7. I don't put a suppressor on because at this point I don't really care if I'm seen on the radar because I have a Stinger with Blind Eye Pro because you lock on to stuff faster. I occasionally swap this out with sleight of hand. It just depends. But this definitely keeps you from getting shot at by any kill streak. Unless it does that one glitch where they still shoot you with blind eye, but that's really rare. It doesn't really happen too much. Like I said, this is just a anti-kill streak class, and I don't really use this, like I said, unless we're just getting completely destroyed. Self-explanatory, though. And the reason I am using support is, again, if I want to put some ballistic vests down for my team, as much as I hate ballistic vests, is again, if we're playing against people that are just being jerks. I never really use this class, but this is just there just in case, for backup and stuff like that. That's pretty much my 10 custom classes. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed that. You can, of course, change it according to what fits your playstyle. It's all about personal preference because you can be pretty specific with your custom classes nowadays in Call of Duty, just the way they've done their games and all that good stuff. It just depends. It basically is however your playstyle fits it, but this is some of my favorite rushing classes and just, classes to challenge myself with. I have a lot of fun doing that, and that's how it's kept MW3 fresh for me. I've been playing it now. I have about 65 days playtime or something like that on this game, so that's quite a bit of playtime. Obviously, I reset my account. For those of you who don't know, I reset it when I got 10th Prestige, and then I got back up to 20th Prestige after they added all those patches and all that crap. So basically, I have 30th Prestige. It's pretty crazy. But I'm not going to reset again. I'm just going to leave my stuff here. I'm happy with all that. I'm just not going to try and get all that stuff back. If anything, if I was going to try and go back and earn stuff, I might make a new account. I'm not going to actually reset that. Forget that crap. Too much time invested on this one individual account. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope some of it, is somewhat helpful. Maybe you can try it out and tell me if you have fun with it. But you guys, of course, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.